We're here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you is Friday, September 5th here in Seoul. I'm Isujin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Grace Park.
Happy Friday!
Happy Friday, and also Iwon is with us.
Good morning.
Good morning. And both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. So it's finally Friday, and as we wrap up another work week, it feels like the perfect time to talk about something that hits close to home for many employees. Voluntary retirement. So just like we're closing out the week, some companies are closing certain chapters in their workforce, and these programs, once aimed at older employees, are now reaching younger staff too. So for today's discussion, we're going to be talking about why even younger employees are being offered voluntary retirement and how younger employees are reacting to this. So to start us off, Grace, can you tell us what voluntary retirement is and how it works here in Korea?
Sure. Voluntary retirement in Korea refers to when the employer asks the employee if he or she would like to retire, mainly for the purpose of scaling down on the company's employee count. And this is because in accordance with Korea's labor laws, it is illegal to fire an employee without reason. In the past, voluntary retirement was offered mostly to older employees shortly ahead of their expected retirement age, but we're now seeing this being offered to younger employees even in their early 30s.
So I feel like this is actually quite surprising that these days even employees in their early 30s are finding themselves targeted by voluntary retirement programs. So Wonbin, can you share some real life examples of where younger employees are being offered these packages?
Of course I can. So a very good recent example is 11번가, which is an online shopping platform. They decided to offer this voluntary retirement to all employees who stayed in the company for over a year, regardless of age. SSG, which is another online shopping platform, they also offered voluntary retirement to employees specifically in their 30s. And another good example is Nitro. Nitro made the infamous Korean video game 카트라이더 or Kart Rider. I'm sure if you're born near the 2000s, we've all have experience playing that game at least once. They announced that they'll be offering, again, voluntary retirement to all employees in the company, regardless of age. So we're definitely seeing more companies offering this option to people in the younger demographics rather than the older traditional age range.
So this shift raises important questions about how the workforce is changing. So Wonbin, why are younger employees suddenly becoming eligible for voluntary retirement programs? Because this used to be a practice that was targeted towards older, more experienced workers.
Yes, that's right. Well, the obvious biggest reason would be the economy slowing down. With the export market and domestic market slowing down and GDP growth rate getting closer and closer to zero every year, many companies are under pressure to cut down costs and tighten their budget as well. And obviously, labor is often the biggest expense for most companies, so they are using voluntary retirement as an option to reduce their workforce instead of a mass layoff.
So the economy definitely plays a huge factor, but also advances in technology and AI are transforming the way we work, automating tasks that once required human labor and changing the skills companies need. So are these technological shifts and also influencing the decision to offer younger employees voluntary retirement, Grace?
Yes, with digital transformation and AI playing a huge role in how we work these days, voluntary retirement has become a strategic HR management tool, even for well-performing companies. And this has changed the way that some interpret retirement, as it's no longer being based on age like in the past, but rather on role and contribution of the employee.
I mean, we've heard a lot about how AI is replacing jobs. You see it when you go to restaurants. Have either of you seen it actually play out ever?
Yeah, so some of my students who work in the IT industry, they've said that although AIs aren't completely replacing employees at the moment in 2025, they're definitely seeing a dramatic increase in work efficiency. So for example, if there was a task that took 10 people to get it done in a week, now with the help of AI, they can only get it done with 3 or 4 people. So while it's not replacing it entirely, it is still increasing the efficiency, which allows the company to operate with definitely less people.
That's really interesting. So we want to get a broader perspective on this. So we'll be speaking with an economics expert on why younger employees are now facing voluntary retirement and what it means for workers and companies. So that conversation will take place right after the break, so don't go anywhere.
NewsGen wants to hear from you. Go to YouTube and search our channel Arirang News. Click Community and leave a comment down below. Make a new type of news with us.
Joining us today is Kwak Junyan, Assistant Professor of Economics at Seogang University. So hi, Professor. Thank you so much for connecting with us today.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So is voluntary retirement unique to Korea, or do other countries have similar practices?
Yes, correct. So, as you mentioned, the voluntary retirement program, they offers options for workers to leave the company, and they usually provide fairly large financial compensation for such voluntary retirement. As you mentioned, recently Lotte-On or SSG in Korea, they offer such program. But this type of early retirement program is also exists in other countries like the US and Japan as well. Of course, if you think about the labor market, they are much more flexible, but they're still utilize such program. For example, US big tech companies like the Microsoft, the Amazon, they also plan to cut their number of employees by paying them to leave. And in Japan, also, Nissan Motor Company, they are in trouble, so they also plan to offer early retirement to employees, and those are who are in the administrative positions. And they want to cut like 20,000 jobs worldwide.
Professor, from your perspective as an expert, why are companies now offering voluntary retirement programs to younger employees too?
Yes, so in general, in response to a decline in their sales and profits, because companies' objective is to, maximize their profit, they want to reduce their labor costs. And the early retirement program is a good instrument to implement that. Then they can hire new and productive workers, and they can increase their profits. Recently, another reason why they utilize this type of program is to make young employees leave, because they do not need as many of young workers, as you mentioned, due to technological change, such as innovations in generative AI technology. Let me take an example of information technology sector. With generative AI, for example, basic coding, which usually entry-level coders conducted, can be seamlessly done with just one line prompting in ChatGPT, for example. So they are replaceable. However, for example, managers, they are usually old workers. They cannot be easily replaced by AI because the role of managers includes social and communication skills. And recently, the research by the Stanford University, they show that actually occupations facing the highest degree of exposure to AI are not in factories, but in offices or cubicles. The key vulnerability lies in the nature of tasks performed. For example, if a job is primarily screen-based, or if it involves predictable or information processing duties, then they say it is highly susceptible to AI-driven automation or augmentation. And let me go back to young workers. So in offices, young workers, they often do routine jobs, routine tasks that can be replaced easily by AI. However, managers, they do non-routine jobs like tasks like communication or negotiations. So this is the main reason why the recent technological change hit the young workers more than the old workers.
I see. Thank you for giving your insight and the practical examples. Now, Professor, what challenges or concerns could this trend create for the economy or society now that younger employees are being offered voluntary retirement? And do you think companies should continue to do this?
So I think this is a very important issue, because young workers, they are a very important part of the economy. especially in an era of low fertility rates, right? If young people cannot make a living, then they will not have their own children, which means the working age population will decline and our economy cannot grow anymore. And moreover, to generate new ideas and create innovations, we need a large pool of smart and experienced young workers. However, if we do not give them a chances to have some experiences and create innovations that lead to high economic growth, then maybe our economy cannot grow in the future. And going back to your question on then, should companies continue offering this retirement program or not? I will say it's their own choice because from the perspective of companies, maybe it's privately optimal for them to adjust their employee structure in line with change in the industry like AI innovations. However, if you think about the perspective of government, then maybe it might not be socially optimal because we need young workers for sustained growth. So maybe we need to find ways to incentivize those companies to keep their young workers in their companies. I think maybe one very simple way is to offer a labor income tax deduction for young workers, for example, then which will effectively cut the costs for companies to keep these young workers, and then we can grow together, and we can have more children as well.
All right, we really appreciate how you shed light on the broader implications it could have on the economy. Thank you so much for joining us today, Professor.
Yeah, thank you. Bye bye.
So we just spoke with an economics professor about whether voluntary retirement is unique to create a part of a global trend, why younger employees are now being included, and what challenges and solutions lie ahead for companies and society as a whole. We also looked at the pressures that have led companies to make these decisions, but beyond the policies and numbers, Wonbin, how do millennials and Gen Zs actually feel about being asked to consider voluntary retirement so early in their careers?
So actually, surprisingly, we are having opposing perspectives rather than just one negative opinion. Because yes, getting fired and quitting your job is bad, but at the same time, companies are actually offering very attractive, juicy packages as compensation for those who choose to voluntarily retire. For example, the easiest example, the cash bonuses that are worth up to years of their salary, and sometimes financial support for their children's academic tuitions as well. So yes, the package itself is objectively attractive as well. And that being said, there are other multiple reasons that acts as a cherry on top that makes people to choose this option even further. So for example, similar to some other countries, workers in Korea have been dealing with low increasing rate of salary, and there wasn't much for them to expect for working there for a long time, for multiple years. And on top of that, quitting your job with a juicy bonus is actually a great opportunity for them to start something new. For example, their business, a new career, even a gap year, or a new passion project as well.
Well, it's good to hear that millennials and Gen Zs are open to what companies are offering them and that they're willing to consider different paths for their careers. But they're also raising concerns, like one being said, like whether these early retirement programs could leave them feeling uncertain. Can you tell us more about this, Grace?
Sure. It is true that early retirement programs are adding to this anxiety and uncertainties about the future. And this is because retirees in their 30s face the double burden of having a shortened career and also being a bit older, leading to concerns about the difficulties of finding a new job. Plus, there's still this kind of stigma in Korean society toward those who choose to voluntarily retire because stability and the traditional retirement age is still very much the norm and is valued in Korean culture.
So you actually work at a government-affiliated organization, like a company. How would you or your coworkers feel if you were offered this, do you think?
I think it also, it would greatly depend on whether or not we would feel like we could get another job, because that would be a burden to carry if I felt like I didn't have any other career after this. So that would be a big factor. And I think 30s is kind of a good age to consider voluntary retirement, more so than if I were like in my 40s or 50s. That would make it harder for me to find a new job. So yeah, depending on the package, if it was very juicy, like Wonbin mentioned, I would consider it. Maybe my coworkers too.
This is really interesting. You made a really good point because I feel like for employees, like maybe for younger employees, more younger employees might be willing to take up this offer because if they're young, there's, like you said, there's some more opportunities for them to get a new job as well. So for those young people who choose to take voluntary retirement, it can also be a chance to start fresh and explore new opportunities. Some may view it as a way to reset their careers, pursue passion projects, or even shift into completely different industries. So Wonbin, what kinds of paths are these young people taking on after they retire?
So I really agreed on the conversations that you guys had because I feel like it would be a much more attractive option if that person wanted to pursue something else other than their current career. And that is what the numbers are showing because like we discussed, there are multiple options that people can take, but the majority choose to start a new business, such as personal services or equipment and space rental businesses. And it's mostly because how young the average retirement age in companies are, which is 49, not even 50. So when someone quits their job in their 30s, they only have about 20 years max left to work in the company. Thus, starting starting their own business seems more reasonable because technically it can last forever if it goes well. So compared to getting a new career in a different company, many people are actually starting their own businesses.
So while there are clear benefits to starting your own business, like having more independence, a chance to turn your passion to a career, and potentially greater financial rewards, it's definitely not an easy path. So it requires capital, resilience, and a lot of risk-taking, obviously. So how is the startup landscape looking for young people to take risks?
Yeah, like you said, Sujin, while being your own boss sounds like a great plan, it's not as easy as it sounds. The hardships of owning a business include financial strain, like securing funding, managing cash flow, also intense time commitment, difficulty in finding and managing employees, as well as the challenges of marketing, attracting customers in a competitive market as well. In fact, according to Statistics Korea, the rate of business closures among young people is higher than that of other age groups. It was found that 14.2% of young entrepreneurs aged 30 or older end up shutting down their businesses within 3 to 5 years.
So it looks like millennials and Gen Zs have quite a range of options when it comes to shaping their careers, whether that means staying with one company into retirement, switching paths mid-career, or even taking an early exit to pursue something completely new. But how do our viewers feel about this? So to get a better sense of their mindset, we asked on the Arirang News YouTube channel, until what age would you like to work at a company? And here's what they had to say. 46% said they hope to work until the mandatory retirement age of 62. About 23% said they would prefer to step down earlier in their 40s or 50s. Interestingly, 13% said they would even consider retiring in their 20s or 30s if the opportunity arose. Meanwhile, 18% said they hope to keep working beyond 62. So interestingly enough, it looks like most people would actually prefer to work until the mandatory retirement age, which for me personally was actually quite unexpected. So I would have thought more people might want to leave early or pursue new opportunities outside the company. But at the same time, it does make sense if you think about it, especially considering how quickly the labor market is changing. So in light of this, Grace, do you have any advice on how individuals can best plan and shape their career paths?
I think we've seen retirement trends change over time. So the sense of having this lifetime career is not really a guarantee anymore because of the nature of the rapidly changing trends in today's market. So I think it's important to not only focus on a specific job and then hold on to that for dear life, but to be more strategic in developing your own unique set of skills, and then also building your capacity to ultimately become an indispensable member of the labor force.
So real quick, have you ever thought about what you want to do after you retire?
Of course, I just want to travel and live in a warm, nice beachy climate. But I think realistically, because life expectancy is higher, I will have to do something to make some kind of profit. So yeah, I think if I have enough money saved up by then, I would want to start my own business, maybe like hone into some of my passions and hobbies like crafts, art and crafts. Like bead necklaces, bead jewelry.
That's a demand.
Maybe like, I don't know, selling plants, flowers. Because those are my
passion
hobbies.
projects,
But
Yeah, turning a passion project to a career.
yes. But then I just don't know if that would be like a good source of cash flow.
Well, you have 2 customers already, so.
Oh, yeah.
And to close off our discussion today, Wonbin, what can society do to best accommodate these shifting labor market trends?
Yeah, so Grace answered, had a touch on the individual's perspective. I want to give a bit more of an opinion as a whole, as a society, and for the government. Like we just discussed, the time of having one job or one career for your entire life is definitely fading away. So we must normalize switching careers and provide the necessary support and the infrastructure. And the government must also make tools and programs that allow people to have a soft landing on their new career as well.
Right. So as we've seen, voluntary retirement is no longer just a concern for older workers. Young employees are also part of this changing landscape. So while the workforce is evolving rapidly, this also opens up exciting opportunities, new career paths, and innovative businesses. So at the same time, whether it's individuals planning their careers, companies adapting their workforce strategies, or society updating support systems, everyone will clearly need to be proactive to adapt to this changing landscape. So with planning and support from companies and society, today's workers will hopefully be able to create careers that are not only sustainable, but also hopefully fulfilling. And this brings us to the end of today's episode of News Generation. But News Gen will be back Monday at 10:30 a.m. Korea time. Big thanks to Grace.
Thanks for having me.
for coming in. Also, Wonbin.
Always a pleasure.
And to all our viewers, thank you so much for watching, and we hope you have the best weekend. We are
News Generation.